Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Start BERLESEN, or if I were to translate it, it's going to be the Unlicensed Podcast. And this is actually episode 11. And in this podcast, we normally cover stories about community stories. We talk about people from different backgrounds, or even we talk about something. And speaking about learning, it will be our main topic for today. And how the topic came about, we've come a few years now went to the popularizing esports locally, at least. I mean, esports been around for a very long time, but it has been popularized in at the past couple of years, and it is still at the growing stage. But over the past few years, we have seen players come and go. Some of them have moved on to different jobs, different parts of esports, maybe, and there are many areas that people just move on to, and it's just of how competitive esports is. And today we'll be talking about career planning for esports athletes. And of course, I have my two guests today with me. We have Keith together with Ken. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight. So, without further ado, okay, let's start off with a little bit of an intro. Maybe talk about the both of you. I'll start off with Keith first, right? Because you're on the left, so naturally you would count first. So, how's your career history like that you to today? Whether it's
First thing,
outside of esports or inside of esports.
okay, so first thing first, that's stereotyping, bro. Some people read right to left, especially in Malaysia. Let's be honest, that's a thing, okay? I'm not making that up. But to answer your question, long story short, honestly, how I end up in esports is because of Kelvin. I had a man to my right hand side. Is this my right? Yeah, or the left, depending on how you're watching it, how you're viewing it, mirror or whichever it may be, flipped. So how it began is that obviously I talk a lot, right? So I found myself in radio for about 2 years. I was in hits doing the English drive show, which was fun in the beginning. I loved the nature of the job. I loved running my mouth. I mean, I got kicked out from church for not being able to shut my mouth tight. So it was like a natural career to find myself starting off. But then after a while, I realized that I'm not much of a hits guy. I'm not so much into pop culture. I'm a little bit on the nerdy, geeky side. If not, in music wise, I listen to a heavier sort of playlist per se, right? Metal, rock, whatever. And so, being in a branded station, a young branded station like Hits, although the job was fun, after a while you feel like I could. There's more to learning in terms of career wise, right? Because as a talent, you don't really learn much on an operational or managerial or even the administrative portion of the job scope. So for me, it's after 2 years, it just felt like enough. Like Taylor Swift and her 40th boyfriend, I don't even care anymore at that point. So I decided to pursue esports because at the time I was already much into Dota 2, the game title itself. And I took a bold leap of faith. I told the person in charge, "Hey, I think I'm done. This is my last year. I want to go pursue esports," and I did. Right, and that's thanks to Kelvin and a recent event that happened in Sabah. It was the biggest Dota 2 event. I went there. I casted the game for free. By the way, that was not planned. I just went in and just the organizer pretty much said, "Hey, you should cast. You got the voice and you got the lingo for it." I'm like, "Oh, well, I think casting's pretty cool, but I'm not sure if I'm any good at it. Sure, I'll do it for free, right?" Because I didn't ask for payment because I could very well mess it up. It's a huge risk going in there. But then that's where Kelvin spotted me. And then he did like what most Hollywood talent scouts would do. He said, "I think I got something for you." In his words, "I think I got something for you. And if you're interested, let me know." And so we swapped numbers then, and then he texted me, told me the event. It was a big deal, right? It was immediately from a local tournament. Immediately, it's a national thing. He offered me to cast for the Malaysian selection Sea Games. Was it Sea Games?
Yes, 2019. Yes, the esports selection. Yes.
Yeah, so I got the opportunity. That opportunity fell in my lap, right? And so immediately I took up on that opportunity, and then met him all the way in was it Miri? I think it was Miri. Yep,
Yep.
that's where the broadcast station was. I did the qualifiers for the Sabah region, and in the end of the day, I did not get paid, but it was all worth it though because I'm kind of met this guy. He's a good guy, and he was when I sent my application to esports organizations all across the West, coming from the East. I'm Sabahan, by the way, if I have not made that clear enough. And so he helped expedite me in my resume into the current company that I have been, and I've been with this company for close to about 4 years now. So that's how I found myself dabbling within the esports industry.
Right. Before we go to Kelvin, I want to know, like, how did you transition from being a talent to doing whatever you're doing now? Oh,
wait. Was that for me or for Kelvin?
yeah, for you. Before I get to Kelvin, just want to know, like, how did you transition from being a talent to whatever that you're doing now?
So how I moved up forwards. I mean, I guess that's the whole essence of this talk, right? It's a progression thing. So I figured I'd save that portion for later once the question comes in. But since you ask, well, pretty much for me, I'm never really satisfied being in a plateau. So it's always about learning, doing something different. If I'm doing a different thing the next year, that honestly brings me more joy than it would be doing the same thing year in, year out. Because then that's where the fun dies down for me. So I was very fortunate. I think progression was pretty steady for me. I can safely say that I've been doing different things almost on a yearly basis, and I'm happy for that. Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about the background of that later on. But on to Kelvin then, as what Nick said, esports veteran, from a veteran to another veteran, and he's in the comments, by the way. So tell us your story.
Oh well, where do I begin? Well,
10 years ago.
if I were
It's
to count,
more than 10.
it was all the way when I started to be a gaming delinquent, I would call that, which was 23 years ago, in the year 2000, that I discovered my love towards competitive gaming, which is back then there wasn't this, esports wasn't a word. So okay, just a little bit background. Where did I get this competitive spirit? Was that back in the day when I was still fit, I was a swimmer. In which that the competitive spirit came from swimming. I wanted to win. I had China coaches. I had even Hungarian coaches coaching me and stuff like that. So after my SPM, in which I mean it was against my wishes that I quit swimming after I finished SPM, and then I found this whole new thing called competitive gaming, which eventually became esports. So I started to become I religiously tried hard to become a player, got into an Indonesian team back then. 4 Indonesians, with one, I'm the only Malaysian there. We hustled our way through playing in the semi-pro scene. Back then there wasn't pro much. Played in CPL, which is called Cyber Athlete Professional League in Counter-Strike back in the day. And WCG, World Cyber Games. By the way, WCG is coming back, making its comeback this year. It's a very, very old title. Back from the day. Yeah. Also, from then I played a good 3 to 4 years competitively in the Counter-Strike scene until 2003, 2004. I think that's where I got my break, in which that I decided I'm not that good. I don't think I'm that good anymore. In which I started to move into organizing leagues, organizing tournaments for the local cafes back home in Kuching. By the way, I'm from Sarawak, so there was this whole thing going on in which I organized leagues, and then this is where I realized that participating in WCG, I start to think that there is a disconnect between East Malaysia and West Malaysia. That for every qualifiers we have to fly over to go big or go home. We have no funding back then. We just cough up our own money to fly over. So I, as a 19 or 20 year old, I remember flying over to KL. Back then, there's this company called Into Marketing, which was handling those games. I said that, hey guys, I have no experience, I have no business acumen. I'm just a gamer. I love esports. I love gaming. Can I bring this qualifiers to Sarawak? So there we go. They said yes. I was so happy that I managed to organize tournaments for the community back then in Sarawak. And back in the day, they would say that okay, what the entrance fee is like 30 ringgit per team. I managed to get like 32 teams to participate. I mailed the money to them and say, hey, this is the price. This is the registration fee. I'll need to send it to you. Give me your address. And they were like, hey, you know what? You've done this part of us. Uh, Only now I started to realize that back then they say I saved them costs from flying over, to to organize the whole tournament whatsoever. I helped them in that part, and they got me to. They said that okay, that 900 odd ringgit, take it. It's yours. It's your salary. That sort of thing. Oh gosh, actually I can make something out of this whole thing. And that's where I think the passions start to grow. That okay, I'm gonna focus more on organizing leagues, look for cyber cafes to run tournaments and stuff like that. So further on, I started to build this whole gap thing between East Malaysia, West Malaysia, trying to pull in more events over SMM Dota 1. If you guys if that rings a bell to you, I also brought it to Sarawak, and till a certain extent that know what. I quit. I think I am done with it. I need to go further my studies, my master's degree in Australia. I had to find a job, and guess where did I end up? Ended up, uh, I ended up in the cyber cafe, running weekend leagues in Melbourne. So I come to conclusion that I can never leave esports anymore. It will come to me. So that was in 2008. 2008 to 2012, I did regular community events in Melbourne, and then having a lot of Malaysian Singaporeans to participate in the tournaments as well. Coming back again, I thought I was done. I went to a banking job. I didn't like what I did. I worked for my dad. In the end, I said, okay, this is it. I can't. This is not what I want to do. This is not what I envisioned my life to be. So I pleaded to my dad to say that, hey, dad, I want to do something in esports. And then this is where he finally gave in. After 17 years, he gave in to say that, okay, you know what? Do whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. So I took that giant leap of faith to, again, with the whole intention in bridging East Malaysia and West Malaysia. That's where I found a good dear friend of ours, Mr. Adrian Gaffo. I think
Who happens to be in the chat, by the way. Shout out, Adrian.
Thanks for the 500 stars, although we get none of it.
yeah. I think that was the part that got me to see the bigger picture of esports. That finally I get to bridge that gap, and then eventually, blah blah blah, got to open up this company. I mean, okay, it was running campaigns, running events for the Sarawak region, Borneo region. And I start to realize that wasn't my thing, actually. I think there's some other people who are greater out there in doing what they do best. And which is where Adrian and I had this conversations that, hey, you know what? Just head over to Orange Esports. Oh, that was when all the companies merged together. Go head over to Orange Esports, since that's your core. And yeah, and you see the transition as I story along. There was so much transition of so-called careers that I had. And yeah, for a good while until beginning of last year, I was with Orange Esports. I got involved in the national esports selection, being the team manager for SEA Games last year, and finally, and not finally, but towards after the whole SEA Games ended, I got approached by a Cambodian company to be part of their consultant for esports. And eventually, right now, as of now, I'm currently with Team SMG. That they saw that I will be a good addition to the organization. So I think that is, I might be a little bit too long and windy over here, but that is pretty much a nutshell of the 23 years that I've been around. I may seem young, but no, I have gray hair right now. And yeah, I'm 41 this year, 23 years. Hence the word veteran, I guess. I'm walking dinosaur, walking dinosaur of esports, I would say.
And I guess that's the reason why the both of you are here to talk about this topic. It's because like you guys have different phases of careers, whether it's within esports or outside of esports, and you transition back and forth, something like that. And there's a lot of a lot to share to the new generation as well. Now that esports is still at a growing stage, but I think there are a lot of streamlining that or structure that can be put into the ecosystem that can be made. So speaking about like career paths and ecosystems, so coming back to Keith, right? So how do you think that the career path for esports has changed over time?
I think to be safe on this one, we have to specify on the parameters as it is, right? Because esports is an industry as a whole, and underneath it there are many different verticals, right? You can be under the agency marketing side, the tournament events, doing all that, the social media, or even going down into the professional players. So for this, I'd say it's best that we specify the jurisdiction on which our conversation will take place, as to not have any sort of overlaps and information.
Yeah. So maybe from your side, go ahead. What would your specification be?
Well, I mean, if we're talking about career development, then obviously we have to talk about the youth and the younger generations, right? Because for the rest of it, although we still need to develop ourselves, the ones who's really more worried, who's don't really see a road yet within esports, is going to be the youth, who would most likely then end up within professional teams. The way I see it, I think there's potential in growth, but if they play the game right. Because if I'm an esport athlete and I'm going in young, but I lack the foresight towards a long-term goal, then I will be a victim of esports. And by that, let's be honest, I think before we move on further, we can all agree on one thing: you can't play competitively forever. That's a fact.
Yep.
Athletes can't do it, neither can you, right? It's a fact that motor skills are dwindling down as you age, and it's only natural that you have to progress yourself. But if you're going in with a short-term mindset to make a couple of bucks, which, don't get me wrong, you make decently as a kid, but let's be honest, nobody makes their wealth through esports. So it'll be a wrong strategy if you're going in thinking you want the highest salary and maybe get the highest cut of the prize pool based on your achievement, yada, yada, yada. I think, although that sounds great on paper, but it's not the mindset you should have if you're looking to be inside the esports industry, starting from the professional player career path. Instead, because another thing that's scary, why is I call them victims of the industries, that for you don't get transferable skills as a player. You come in, you play the games, great. What does that transfer to when you're done playing the game, when you're putting the device down, and how you grow yourself from there, right? So I think they should, like everyone who is within the competitive scene right now, should actually have a long-term plan when they're coming in, and instead of looking at esports as a venture to earn the quickest buck at its current point in time, because even a winnings, it's peanut monies compared to what you would earn on a C-suite level. So doesn't that make sense, if you're in it for the money, to then take a traditional route to get yourself to that level, rather than going through esports, which is going to take years of your time back, but not translate that forward to a corporate field. So, yeah, I may digress here, but the question, if you're asking me where is it going, based on my experience handling teams in Orange Esports, seeing how well kids will be kids, but how they behave and things, their work ethics, attitude, and all, I think that needs to change if they're looking for longevity within the industry.
Yeah. Shout out to Jeffrey as well. Hi. Thank you for stopping by. Jeffrey Chan's in the chat, by the way. But how about this thought of like a lot of people will think that, or only think, because they do see successful esports athletes actually make a lot of money and setting themselves up for the next X number of years.
Is that for me to answer?
Yeah.
Because I have an answer to that. So trust me, when I knew I was having this call, I've already defined my parameters. So, like I mentioned, and I quote, nobody makes their wealth through esports from a player's perspective. But what they do is they come in, like I said, long term. What are you going to do? What's your ROI? If it's cash, that's a failing strategy. If you're there as a platform, leveraging on that, building your own personal brand, which then force you to learn on creative aspects to market yourself, then that's skills that you then can transfer later on to your stage of your career, or that can turn into a business endeavor of your own, or you can learn the management side and aspect, eventually run a team, or there's so many verticals you can go into. But I'm saying, that's why I said we should specify the verticals we're talking about. If we're talking about the esports athlete and what they're currently doing, is that going to yield them a benefits in the far end? I doubt so. However, if they're smart about it, look at all the success model, Daddy Hood, Solos, Master Ramen. None of them made their money through esports. They made it through their brand. So that is a totally different thing.
Oh, okay. Cool. We'll definitely talk about that a little bit later, but I'd like to pass the baton on to Kelvin now. So you've been playing back in your day. So you felt that transition, specifically about our title today, right? As an esports athlete to whatever that you're doing right now. So how much has changed as compared to back then in the day versus what you see now? Ian?
Well, back in the day that, prize pools weren't as huge as, obviously it's not as huge as now, in which, that it's the whole definition of being part of being an esports athlete was pretty much more towards the competitive side of things. You want to win. That I was very much motivated to win that keyboard first prize. And that is just a secondary thing. What matters to me was the title, the championship title. That was more important to me rather than the remunerations or even the cash prize if there was. And yeah, I live based on that. Call me old school, whatever. That I still feel that that right now the whole tournament scene we have offering millions and millions of money. This really of good times, fortunate times for esports athletes to really vie for, in which we didn't have that sort of luxury back then, and what we drive towards was being a champion, which is why I emphasized on the competitiveness within me. Money, yes, it's another thing. If I manage to win more money from that, why not? So that's what I saw the it change over time. That there is no which is why I opted for, okay, by the time that I reach a certain point that I don't think I'm good enough to vie to become a champion already. That's where I would love to I will move over to tournament hosting, in which that I could earn 1,000 ringgit back then 20 years ago. That is huge money for me. So yeah, for now, as of now, I mean, times have changed already, like tournament organizing and stuff like that. I may not know the exact figures of how much does a deal cost already, but on a more esports athlete career standpoint, that right now that is so much different compared to my years. As I wouldn't call myself professional, I was just trying to be good at that time. No one's paying me salary whatsoever, right? So right now, on top of that, there wasn't such thing as organizations back then. There were only clans and teams and a group of friends playing. I think that's one huge difference over time. Right now, you have organizations such as Orange Esports, such as Team SMG, such as Geek Fam, whatsoever, to be there to give that support. And also one thing to add up with what the question that you posed to Keith about what all this aspiring, what we see that players winning prizes and all this thing. What the media is showing, I'm not blaming the media, but what they are showing is just the 1% of hard work that is going on of the esports athlete. For example, the Lee Chong Wei. You see Lee Chong Wei in badminton, or even Li Zijia in badminton. What the media is showing is there are winning moments, but what they didn't show was the hustle, the tough times, the make or break moments for them to reach where they are. The 99% isn't shown. That is where I'm very, very particular when it comes to when I see kids now, young athletes nowadays that their drive is to make money through esports career. Towards a certain extent, yes, Keith is very right. Honestly, you can't make that much money, but building a brand, yes. But in terms of esports career winnings, you only have that selected 1%. I mean, like the likes of people like Puppy, people like Nothing to Say, or whoever these people. Yeah, they are the top 1%. What about the 99%? What are their career earnings, right? We wouldn't know. Some are just trying to get good, but still can't get there. So this is what I have observed throughout these 20 plus years.
Shout out to Mama Lin as well for stopping by, one avid viewers. So yesterday I was watching DPCC. By the way, great graphics by EBN. I really loved it. And there was this player on behalf. Yeah, I meant that genuinely though. So there was this pre-interview with Raven from Blacklist Rivalry. So he's been playing for a while. He's gone to TI a couple of times and all that. So he was hearing about how he started off playing Dota. And I size it as Dota was a way for him to get out of poverty. Yeah, that was a means for earn, because he was saying that, his family didn't earn that much, so options were limited. But one day he found the joy in playing, and he noticed that he can earn money from there, and it just went all the way. Of course, right now he's still playing. He's gone to TI a couple of times, and I'm sure his pocket is pretty steady by now. But that is him as someone. Maybe, I don't know, 5 years or 6 years ago when he started playing Dota, that was his aspiration. He comes in, he wanted to earn money. So, but Keith, you've taken care of teams before. So, like, how do you see like the players who come in? Like, what's their aspiration like when they first started?
Right now, but I don't blame them. They are kids. Right, I don't expect them to have a long-term vision, but everyone's going in right now. Just look at the scene. What's the most enticing thing you could say to a player? You get big amount of X amount of salary. I wouldn't even say big. It's X amount of salaries, X amount of cut from the prize pool. Some may even push to, hey, we'll sell you sponsorship deals if you're big enough. Yada yada yada. Right, that's the one thing they want to go. It's me, and it's a very it's a short-term gain thing, right? Honestly. Sure, if they want to do that, fine, right? But if we're talking about the reason of this podcast, and that is the career planning, right? That means all the way through, because we've already established you can't play forever, which means that salary you're taking in from organization, the prize pool cuts, the sponsorship money obviously is going to dwindle down. And so that is not planning for the far future. That's just planning for failure, right? And then when you go into the workforce, after X amount of years, now you're 5 years behind, while someone maybe 2 years ago already started themselves in the workforce with skills that transfers in an actual organization, and then they'll find themselves in a better foot. Or someone who finds themselves in stem cell is going to have a better foot set up for the future for them, right? So, like I said, it's if players are going in with the ROI of making money intent in mind, then I would say it's a bad strategy. Because you don't go in there to make your wealth through competitive gaming. You use these platforms as a platform to leverage yourself, maybe even and create avenues that maybe somehow down the line gets you more money. But then you have now people who goes there who's in the competitive scene, who don't want to do interview, who don't want to like put themselves out there, not trying to do their brands. I just want to play the game. I just want to win. I just want to get good at it. And so then you start to question like what is the end goal? Are they what are they looking for towards the end of their career as players itself? If they're not selling themselves, they're not doing their brands. I mean, they're not developing their own personal brand. They're not learning about the organization, because I know for a fact players don't care about the P&L, which is always in the red for organizations. Because if they cared about it, if they learned about it and they cared about it, they wouldn't be demanding too much for it, right? So it's always me, I, mine, which eventually turns into this parasitic relationship where when the host dies, what happens to the parasite? They jump onto the next host. That's the pattern that's going on right now, right? And if the industry is not sustainable for teams, eventually someone's going to tap out, right? That's a potential that's going on. And so if I was a player and I were to take the same endeavor, and if I knew what I knew now, and if I become a professional player, I'll say, screw the short-term things. I'll find a fair deal, fairly decent, right? But I'll get myself connected to teams with different backing, like SMG, who's got IO, who's got all different verticals, or with Oranges, who's got different verticals within esports as well, that you could potentially say, hey, that's pretty cool. I think broadcast seems to be a something I have interest in. I'll leverage that connections that they have within this single group, learn as much as I could during my time, at the same time playing to make a little more on the side, right? And then when my career is done over, I now have that relationship and go back to that team and say, can I try going and getting into broadcast? Like you're setting yourself up for the future, right? After it ends, now you have an avenue. But what's going on within the scene is that you don't match my ask, I don't want you, and then you go out in the scene and you probably badmouth that person, and so then because it's such a small scene, it goes back to you, and then you're burning bridges. So again, it's not the best of strategies out there. Like you see it in community groups, like they're bashing each other, bashing organization, talking smack about some things, and so hey, you're free to do so. There's nothing illegal behind that, but that's you burning bridges there, right?
All right. I'll play devil's advocate here, but we'll pass this on to Kelvin. All right. So I'm a player, right? I'm young. I'm probably after school. I'm probably like 16, 17, 18, that age group. And you make me an offer and say, hey, can you come play with my team? Here's your X amount of salary. It may not be bombastic, but it's still an amount. And people come and say that, hey, this salary is not enough. And why? Two reasons. One, I got to pay my bills. Two, mom and dad would have an expectation of, oh, you're now an esports athlete. You're a star. You're supposed to be the breadwinner of the house right now. I need to prove to the society around me that it worked out. And society, in all truthfulness, society, you'll be judged by whatever amount that you're earning, right? Especially if you're at that age group. So you're like, oh, he's now earning, I don't know, $50,000 a month or something, right? Then go like, oh yeah, great. But if you're only earning like a really small amount, whatever, maybe we can think of a three figure, then it will be a question, right? And the person will feel pressured. But what's your take on this, Kelvin?
I would say, okay, it was a little bit long question, but I'm trying to recollect. But I would say that in order to suit society demands, right? I think that's one focal point in which that you need to earn XXXX in order to suit what the society thinks of you. For me, I think I would look at it. Let me turn this around a bit. On an organizational standpoint, I would be more responsible in a way that, number one, if I were to be straightforward, I would say, sorry, this is not a good place for you. Go and do something else.
Although they are like the best player, and they're saying that to you, it's like the money is not enough.
Okay. Are you sure? I would say, are you sure this is what you really, really want? I think this is where the due diligence from me comes in. Are you sure this is what you really, really want? No right, no wrong. I will support. If you say yes, I will support you for whatever reasons. However, based on your capabilities, I'm expecting this result. You have to something back to deliver to me.
All
Do,
right,
do,
Keith.
do, do I get do I answer your question?
Oh yeah,
Wait, so
Keith has a thought.
I want to echo on that point, right? So he's the best player in the industry, right? So he's asking probably maybe 5 times more than his partner or teammates. Then the question becomes, if I give you this much, can you confirm me a victory? If you can, sure, I'll put that down because I'm gonna make it back. But it's shown time and time again, you don't confirm the results despite being a good player, despite getting paid X amount. So you're saying that now I have to put down a guaranteed X amount for you every month, but you can't guarantee me the results back. Why am I taking all this risk?
It's a team game, sir. It's a team game. I'm MVP, but it's a team game.
Then unfortunately you're looking at the world the wrong way. The world's not very nice now, is it? No, but it's really that if you want people to put something down, you have to confirm something in return. It's called a value exchange, right?
But I think this is where I can come in to be the Cloud, you're the devil. Keith is the factual guy. I'll come in with a compassion angle. That I've always been very, very supportive towards these youngsters who really want to jump into esports. That I've always tell them that that back in during my time I had no pillar of support. I would love to be a pillar support. I'm not asking for anything in return. That I would put in some compassion into it. That right there. Yes, there. I understand you. I hear you. There is a few you need to live up to what your parents expect of you. Or this, yes. Again, I will not throw back the blame, but I will go like I mentioned just now. Are you sure you really want this? Are you really sure? I can give you this opportunity, which I mean I may not I may be going against the organization's what do you call so-called rules, but I'm doing it for you. But it's your opportunity to shine. This is where I'm from. I want to give you the opportunity. I don't want to regret not giving you the opportunity. I don't want to give you that chance to be to. I don't want to be that. I don't want to stop you from. This could be your chance. Your only chance in reaching wherever you want to be. But don't f up lah. Don't screw up lah. I can give you that platform. I can give you that opportunity. Just that if things doesn't go right, I'm sorry. So this way I see I have a middle point in this, that it coming from me, because I've been in that situation. I want to prove that I'm the best, but I have no opportunity to do so. Right now, me being in a position in where I can give opportunities through my own network, my group of friends, to say, oh, I will call up people. I mean, real life story. I'll call up maybe not from my organization. I'll call up other organizations and say, hey bro, this guy is looking for a team. You wanna? That he's asking this much, that much. But I don't know. I'm just connecting you guys. You guys decide whether to take him or not. But I'm just vouching for him because he has a good attitude. Blah 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 blah. But his him delivering results is not on me. I'm just sharing. I'm just passing through information. I just want to help this young fellow, this young boy. That's it. Full stop. Don't say I didn't help. Yeah.
So those are scenarios where if an organization has resources, so that is like a good side from it. Yeah, Keith.
So I just want to correct that, right? Because when you're saying that, you're saying the other organization does not have a resource. No, it's not that. All these organizations have resources. How they want to spend it is on them. If some organizations don't see an ROI in teams, but they do value it as a platform for, and also give as an opportunity for players to play. So they will invest into it willingly, understanding that they'll burn those money off, but they won't burn. They set a fixed control amount to burn, and that's the acceptable amount to burn based on what you can provide for the players itself. So it's not that some people have resources, some don't. Some people choose to spend their money more wisely than others.
Agree?
Okay, I was actually about to go to the let's say if you're like a community team. I wouldn't say the community team is probably the right word. Maybe a more established community team, but you don't have the funding. But yet obviously you need this, and the players would still come to you and say, you know what, I know you guys are in the market for a round, you're kind of consistent, you're joining every tournament, but we got to pay the bill.
Bills.
So
No. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this, right?
Okay.
What really is the bills that they have to worry about? The organizations are ready to give you an allowance, a gaming house, and most 9 out of 10 times you don't have to go anywhere that they ask you to go without them forking out the cost for you to move there for like media days or whatnot, or events show up. Organizations will pay for that, or I don't know, at least when I run things, all the things that's necessary for the conduct of the organizations will be paid for under the organizations. So you don't have bills to pay for in terms of a rent or electricity bills at home, or you don't have to pay for X amount of other stuff. If you get yourself a car, if you're talking about a personal commitment you made, then that's a decision you made to put on more liability onto your life. You can't expect organizations to pay that for you just because you made the decision to, I want to have a Range Rover at 16 years old. I'll pay down for a $400,000 US car. Then that is something they kind of have to find and patch them up themselves.
Right, because we got a couple of people in the chat who run teams without that level of resources, or maybe even no monetary at all. It's like, hey, I am, we're consistent, we're around in the scene, but we're not funded, we don't have money.
So that is actually a very good point. And with that parameter set, can they still run it? Yes. What does that mean? The extra on top is really luxury compared to what they have, and they can still run a team. So which means that even with a, let's say, lower than commercial tier 1, you can still run a team, provided some of the needs are met, like they have a place to stay or whatnot, so on and so forth. And which means anything that you are taking from a tier 1 level is more than sufficient for you to go about your daily lives and still compete. Doesn't that put that in perspective? That means you're saying if tier 2 teams can run with a fraction of the budget, that means people in the tier 1 can run on a cost that the tier 2 teams are running, but they decide to give more. So shouldn't that be appreciated?
Yep. So would you agree that if that parameter, and at the same time the player comes and say, you know what, I would love to play, but without money it's a little bit difficult. Would you just, if you were in that parameter, would you just say, okay, thank you, don't need to share any further?
I think it's not about what I think, right? This is just objectively speaking, because if you ask me personally, then I might have a heart and I might try and, make it work your way. But objectively speaking, let me ask you this, okay? When they pay you a salary and you come into an org, who takes the biggest risk?
The org.
The org.
The org, yeah.
Why does the org take the biggest risk? The org cannot confidently say that they are going to yield results, number one. Number two, most organization gives the larger share of the prize pool cut to the players anyway. So whatever's remaining cannot cover the demand that they ask for, number two, right? And number three, it's just facts that, most org out there, even in the West side, is just burning. They're running on a negative P&L for a potential that it'll somehow be profitable one day. But if like people said in a community chat, if this is a long-term investment thing, then to be able to play long-term, you have to burn even less and be more sustainable. Doesn't that make sense? How do you get to a long-term how do you finish a marathon when you're sprinting in the beginning?
Yeah. Okay. So that's the
Right?
analogy. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. So Kelvin, coming back to Kelvin then. So in your time, you would have seen sports athletes come and go. For sure. You
Yes.
see, turns out, I noticed the moment that point comes out, your eyes roll, right? So you see, tons of the, but in your view, at what point they start planning long term?
Honestly, I would normally use myself as an example when I did, like I said, when I didn't have a support system. I went into, there weren't any verticals back in the day. I was just banging walls here and there to find the right forte to master in. So as of for now, that I mean, we start to have people like yourself and even me to be able to guide them, to have that plant that thought into them. Remember when I mentioned that, are you sure you want to do this? It has a very, very deep meaning inside it, is that that apart from playing, you do know that your lifespan as a player is X amount of years. What's next? So this what's next question is very, very important. In which that I've always, in a nutshell, I just make it very, very simple for them. That I don't know what's up, what's in the future. I can't predict the future, but at least on the education standpoint, you get your SPM first. In case things don't work out well, all right. Things don't work out well. That let's just say that after being a player, gradually you go into coaching, you go into analyst, you go into casting, or you might even jump over to like Keith mentioned, broadcasting production. You might even jump into sales and marketing, whatever it is. You know, uh, we don't know. It depends on what you want. So two important questions that normally I do when I do my workshop is, what do you want? Most importantly, what do you want? And number two is, are you sure this is what you want? So that let me be here to give you suggestions, but not to plan your esports life, but to give you suggestions. I think there's one very, very great. I've always there's one article about esports professional players, and there's a list of job scopes underneath esports. I think that is one of the photos that I always use to say that it's not only being a player. There's so many other things that you could look into. But I don't know what you want. I am not you. You see, I am not you. Whatever that suits you. But as long as you're within the esports scene, that if I do have, if you can give me a rough idea of what you want where do you see yourself in the next 3 years, for example, and probably I can take note towards that. Let me give you a real life example. Remember your last guest, this young fella Fok Jachong. I, I I speak to him a lot. Not gonna lie, I speak to him a lot. And he said that I've seen him doing commenting. I said, so what do you want to do? He said, oh, I want to look into to analyzing and eventually do something in esports. Then go do ahead. You ask me questions like, hey, this team is offering me this amount of money, but I'm still focused in my studies. I said, great, continue doing what you study. Do you treat it as a side hustle? If you manage, I mean, based on my understanding, this Jia is a really he takes his study seriously, and that's good news for him as well. But and then his passion towards esports, I think, is wow, amazing. I haven't seen someone. I think this viral video that went the other day, that went super viral. I haven't seen such a youngster like that. To have so much passion in the game, at the same time working his way up in his academic endeavors. So Yeah, so at least I know what's next for him. So I can, maybe you can do this, maybe you can do that. I will never impose that. Oh, you plan to analyst. Your next step must be a coach. Your next step must be a whatever. No, because it's in the end, it's what they want. It's not what I want for them. So I think that's where I come as a daddy parental role. Here, I think I think me in this chat over here, that Keith's role is giving you the facts and figures. For me, I come in as a better old daddy role to tell you that, I've been through this before. I don't know what to do. I bang walls here and there, but let me share with you what you can. Let me guide you towards there. But it's your choice, not mine. I don't want to enforce anything towards you. So this is my thoughts.
I want to add on to that. I think we're complementary on each other. I'm not denying as well.
Yeah.
So your question to Kelvin was, when should they start thinking long term? In my mind, it's always this: you always have to think long term, right? Because I mean, even if you don't know till when you're gonna live, you always want to think long term. And I've never once said you should do this, do that. That means because you're thinking long term, you must already try and figure out what you want to do. And sometimes when you want to do something, your next move is to try everything until you find something that you want. But if you're asking for a hefty price to try something else, then you're never going to get the chance to try that things. Like, listen to what Kelvin said. He was a player before. When he tried getting into organizing tournaments and whatnot, he just did it for free, right? And then they gave you a 900 call it a salary at the end of the day, and you were ecstatic about it, and that made you explore that venture even more. Same thing with me. I casted your event for free. I casted an event for free, and I realized, hey, you know what? Maybe I want to explore this some more. Let me put that into perspective. If I was in that event that day, and the dude asked me, you should cast, I said, sure, pay me $3,000 for an hour. You think he's going to let me cast? Hell fucking no. Hell fucking no. He's not going to let me cast. And what then? So whatever that happened, that transpired after that moment, will never have happened. I would have been there watching, thinking, hey, wouldn't it be cool if I actually casted this event?
Good point. But look.
My point is this: if you're going in with an ROI to make the most from an arc, that means pushing them, demanding them, hey, I want ridiculous stuff. Eventually, you become too difficult, and then what? How are you going to try something else? Like, you're rubbing them off in a bad way. Now, I would think, wait, you want to try something else? Am I supposed to pay you X amount for it? Because surely, I logically, nobody's going to say, oh, yeah, sure, you can try this one now, but we can only pay you 1/10 of what you get now as an esports athlete. And if you heard that as an athlete who's making the whatever figures they are, then you hear that, what, 1/10? Nah, you know what? Maybe I just stick here. Then that stops you from trying things as well. So then you're in this loop of the short-term goal.
Just want to add this. What Keith mentioned just now, it's super valid. In which that I've always lived by this concept that in order to have something, which is monetary rewards, right? You need to do first. But before you even do, you need to be first. For example, I need to be good. I need to train well. I need to learn how to be a professional, quote unquote, fake it till I make it. I need to be, then I'll do, which is the participate in tournaments, get good son. Only then I can have this. What I think what Keith is saying, that remember when you mentioned about your 3K gig, I must have this first. Only then I do the casting. I must have 3K. Only then I do. Then I can be whatever I want to be. That doesn't work. This is what I noticed. Back to the second question that you mentioned just now. That what I see the change right now. In our times, there isn't this monetary thing that we don't get salary, but we want to be the best. Therefore, we do our best in our competitions. Only then we can gain our mouse and keyboards and whatever. Right now, what we see is I want this, but this amount. Only then I do. Then I become become professional. That's how I look at things in a very very simple way.
Okay,
Yeah.
so say at that particular athlete, person, player, okay, agrees to the terms, signs on, comes in with an open heart, says that, you know what, I'm okay with whatever that you give me. I want to do my best. Let's win trophies together. So here comes the next phase of the question, right? So if they are, so when they join, like what you mentioned, Keith, they have an expectation because they're being paid for the form and all that. If they have all those expectations, maybe from organizers, maybe even from fans who want the team to perform well, how are they going to balance between being a good player should focus on versus planning for their future, learning new skills, something that's out of the game?
There's always things you can do on the side, right? Well, for if you are a player right now and you're planning to go long term, number one, get in touch with the networks. You know, Team SMG is a good place. Why? Because they have, again, like I said, different verticals. Orange was a good place. There were different verticals that you can branch into, right? It's a matter of like, hey, I'm curious about doing this. Like, can I come in and try and learn things? Sometimes you don't have to put your hands on. You can learn about it first. The concept is you learn the concept, learn why a certain thing works a certain way, understand the pretty much how the department works, and then you find your way in. Sure, you're gonna have to make it through the executive level, but you're already equipped at least more than the next person who's just coming in fresh. And doesn't that set you up for a better progression throughout the corporate ladder? It's things like that, right? Like, who says it's supposed to take away from the players? I'm pretty sure players have leisure time as well. Some train 8 hours a day, some train 6 hours a day, some train maybe even 9, right? Depending on how hard they are trying to pursue that goal. But it's never going to be 24 hours, right? And so how do you spend the remaining hours within the day? If you're flipping through TikTok, then I'm not saying that's a bad thing. If you're flipping through TikTok to learn the landscape and then build your brand onto TikTok, sure, that's great. But if you're just doing it because you're doing it, then it's not a matter of a split in focus. It's more of how you spend your time. Spend it wisely, I guess.
So yeah, I think to add up in that, I can just sum it up together with what I shared just now about the being stuff. Is be proactive. Be proactive. That's as simple as that. You know, like I said, like what Kim mentioned that I mean, I'm very glad. Like for example, the likes of like SMG and Orange. You know, there's the different verticals over there. Having that proactiveness to say, hey, how does this work? Even not trying, you haven't dipped your hands, not even doing it. Having that mindset of being proactive, I think it will help a lot already. That for them to, before they go to sleep, to think, maybe that could be something I would like to look into by the time I expire as a professional player. We don't know, but to have to for themselves to implant that thought. Possibly that could be something. It may be right, it may be wrong. I don't know, but why not give it a try?
No, and that's the beautiful thing, right? Like I said, if that org number one has got networks or connections to different sort of vertical, one advantage you get over everyone else is that you can get in touch with different aspects of the esports industry, right? If you really want to go into the esports industry, you want to get into different aspects of it. Number two, you now have first-hand recommendation. You go up to your team manager. You know, one day Kelvin's players will go up to him like, actually, yeah, I like the concept of broadcast. Can I try? And then they'll say, yeah, sure. You'll be doing free things for free, putting some effort in it to do something for free. But eventually, when you realize, like, I kind of like this, and then you already do free things, so they've seen your work ethic because you're now there taking proactive to learn about something new, and now you realize that you kind of like it. you think they're not going to give you a priority over the thousands of applicants that maybe would want to do broadcasting as well? You've got a leg up. So that's what I meant by you need to think long term and know the cards that you're being dealt right now, and kind of, always have an exit strategy from one thing to another, right?
Yep. I think one disclaimer we should have is that, okay, guys watching, I don't think we are not trying to overplug SMG and Orange being having various. I mean, there is it comes down to the proactiveness also. Even though if you're a team from organization ABC that you are interested in something else, I mean, there's always an avenue. Meeting the right people. I think that is a very, very important key. That you're keeping your network not burning bridges, and keeping your network open and have that opportunity to try something else in the future. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is also because esports is still enough in the country or as an industry to get it with people across, like whether it's you go to say you're in an esports org that probably doesn't have all these broadcasting verticals and so on. You can get connected to the organizers of maybe your respective pro leagues, for example, and that is possible. It's a matter of whether you want to do it or not, because the industry is still that close knitted enough, right? It's always a way. Shouting out to Andrew Chen, he's in the house as well. Right, and Mingzi actually put in a good question from the comment. So, but I'll leave this for later. But I'll park the question aside. Is that talent recruiting pipeline or process within esports? But I like to put it as this the Q&A towards the end later on. So noted on that, by the way. But okay, so I'll play another devil's advocate here. So say this player chooses to, while he's actively playing, chooses to say, hey, I want to try something else. Let me try in broadcast, for example. So on his free time, he goes help on the broadcast, do whatever, and he comes back to play. But this is the thing. If the results do not show well, because his primary objective is still to perform as a player. What if his results don't show? Fans will rage. Organizations will not be happy, and it will come back to bite him and say that, see, it's because you lah. People ask you go, maybe during your free, just go do some light training on your own. This one you go and do something totally different. Now that's why, because it's not performing. So that may cause the fear of an athlete to pursue that anymore and say, okay, yeah, maybe I should just shut up and just play my game. Take on that, Keith.
Well, for number one, addressing the fans, what have we learned for the past couple of years in esports? They're going to hate you anyway if you lose a game. Even if you try your freaking best, even if you're on your top A game, if you lose, they're going to hate you anyway, okay? It's binary. It's like football. Although you've tried your best, you sweat in the field, maybe take some injury, get a red card, foul tackle on you, you lost your knees, you'll never be the same. It will still be because you weren't playing good enough. So that means that, in conclusion, don't care about that part. Right? If you care about the noise out there, then you're never going to make it as a player. You're supposed to block the noise out. You're supposed to be hyper focused, right? So that's number one. Number two, if a person is, you talked about orgs being unhappy about the results, right? Well, that only comes in if the player is asking a little bit too much. Truth be told, Kelvin has been both sides on the fence. I would gladly say I will not pay the players the X amount that they ask for if it's ridiculously high. And by that, I understand that I cannot have a high expectations of that. And he's seen me behind the scenes. When have I pressured player to go up and perform? All I said is the way I run things is this. Hey, if this is enough for you to sustain your time here, have a little bit of leisure. Still, we will house you in all these things, yada, yada, yada. You're taken care of. And you go out there. If you want the big bucks, then you earn it because you get majority of the prize pool anyway, right? That's why some people say, oh, maybe the esports model can work if org take majority of the prize pool and players take the minority of the prize pool. Then I'll go like, but prize pool is equivalent to their effort. If we do that, then what's the incentive for them to actually strive for their cash prizes? Why don't they just like, you know what? They're gonna keep majority of it anyway. I'll just take a salary. So I don't like that idea as well, right? Yeah. So what was the third one you mentioned? No. So to address your question on the second one is, if you're not demanding too high, the expectations for you to perform is not going to be as high as well. And then the third one you mentioned was, I kind of forgot.
Okay. I think there was only the two key. But since you mentioned that as well, so now are you saying players should perform according to what they play, according to what they're paid?
The other way around. You perform and get paid.
Okay.
If
so
you make it, if you have achieved milestones, then I don't see why you should not be remunerated on the next season. Will it be a 2x, 3x amount? Depending. If a person thinks it's a fair increment on that. But it's pretty much do first, like what Kelvin said, you be, and then you're paid. You don't come in thinking you must be paid, and then you be. Like, we've gone through this, pretty much.
Yeah, you're coming back to that, right? Right.
Yep. So I would like to add into your question, Cloud. I think I can sum it up to three words: setting priorities right. That yeah, they are, their scope is to be as a professional player. Yes, they need to train, they need to deliver results. But then again, it doesn't. For me, let's say I will put myself in a situation in which I'm employed by an organization to play and deliver results, right? I don't think my curiosity can be stopped in a way that I'm just having an open mind to learn something else, which but at the same time, on the responsible side of things, I need to make sure that I get my stuff done first. Only then, during my free time, okay, come on, like let's use how many hours are we scrolling on TikTok every day, right? That if you could take an hour to that 1 hour out of the 4 hours that you scroll on TikTok, you take that 1 hour to learn. Let's not talk about broadcasting, whatever. To learn, let's say, what's that called? Editing software. And I don't think that will be a reason, excuse to say that, oh, because I spent X amount of time to learn Adobe software, and the results went down. This is on the players themselves to balance it out. There is no such ruling in that you are not allowed to learn something else. This is what we call growth learning. We want to grow. We want to grow as we are paid to do our job professionally. We still have a growth mindset that there are still things that we want to learn as we progress along on our daily lives.
Let me give you an example. Since you asked like how I end up here, I applied for content executive when I went in. I was supposed to be for Prime Live area, and then they moved me onto Orange because there wasn't a demand for the position back in Prime Live. So I went into Orange. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had zero. All I know is, okay, let's try and keep the page up. So in doing so, I took the time, like, I started off bad, dude, but at least I took the time to kind of learn the Adobe softwares, right, by heart. And like what Kelvin said is true. Learning comes naturally if you're really long-term. Like, this is not like a right or wrong thing. Like, if you're long-term, all that you're saying wouldn't be a detriment, because think of every progression people have within their careers, right? You go in, then you go like, I'm a player. I want to make the big bucks. For that to happen, I have to start my own brand. I'm getting so much traction right now. And then you start doing your TikTok, whatever social media does. You get a decent amount of followings, and then naturally you will go into how do I up the production level higher. Right? Then when you do that, then suddenly all the brands start approaching you, and you realize it's a lucrative thing. Same thing when I was in Orange Esports, when I was doing content executive, I didn't just say I'm paid to do this, I will only do this. I learned the other aspects in how to manage a team. So when Kelvin immediately packed up and leave, I knew how to come in because I was observing what he's doing, how he's doing it, and when you do it. And for teams, I just realized that in a year, you have 2 different seasons and you have to plan for each season, multiply that by 2, maybe add out a little more if the players you have before stayed, that is the increment they will get. And then you've got the whole rest of the year planned out on a financial sheet. You know what I mean? So it's like you will naturally would want to learn more if you're about being long term. So it's a perspective thing, right? If you're going in immediately short term, then everything that falls under progression is going to seem like a hassle or a challenge to you. Meanwhile, if you're in it for long term, then you know that you need a backup plan at the end, and that means you will already start gearing up for that one while you're in the current position. And it comes naturally. You wouldn't hear things like, what if it affects the results? That usually happens when people burn down. And people, when they burnt out, is when they're doing things they don't want to do, but they do it anyway.
All right. I'm going to take a second here to say thank you to Cindy as well. Cindy dropped by to the stream. Thank you for dropping by. Thank you for dropping by the way. Okay. I'm going to play a wild card. Right. I'm going to play a wild card. I'm going to come back to Kelvin. All right. So Kelvin, you watched the previous episode whereby Fung Jia Chong. We're going to call it for as short. So one of the things that he mentioned is that for our athletes, in that specific, obviously was referring to Mobile Legends in the MPL scene. He was saying that our athletes should not. Okay. Why I'm coming to this is because building a personal brand is also part of long-term career planning, right? So in that podcast, he was saying that he would rather not have our athletes stream.
Mm-hmm.
Streaming should be out and just focus on the game. I believe that Ikuto did write something on his personal post about this topic. Now, streaming is a platform to build your brand. And so now you can see the expectations of a fan and probably someone himself, who's a known figure, having similar thoughts. But what is your take on this, Kelvin? Because now there's that call out. But that will also mean that our players would be limited in terms of branding themselves. Like that's one less avenue at least.
So I think in my perspective, in my opinion, I feel that professional players should. I'm not saying that they can't stream, but like I said previously, setting your priorities right. That streaming, yes, if it's to chase numbers, that kind of streaming versus streaming just to relax, just to wind down, to connect with the fans at the same time building the brand. I feel this could work. Why I say so? Most recently, I was scrolling through TikTok. Yes, guilty as charged, scrolling TikTok. That Neymar, the professional football player from PSG, he streams on TikTok, playing PUBG Mobile or something like that, or Escape from Tarkov, if I remember correctly. And I think it's all about that discipline and setting priorities straight. That you can do whatever you like during your leisure. It all comes down to the learning Adobe thing. That person chooses to stream, and that he thinks that he wants to up his brand, whatever. I think it's fine. However, if streaming to chase numbers given by certain platforms or whatever, that will be detrimental towards results and performance, I feel that is a no-go. So probably the question that we would like to ask back the the players is what's the whole intention behind streaming? Is to make a second to generate second income from XXX streaming platform, or just a side hustle to brand myself, to connect with the fans, just to kill time, just to have fun. It could be as simple as that. So this is how I look at it. I am not saying that if you're a pro player, you cannot stream. No. There's a balance. This is my solution is a balance to it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, as long as they know that they have a sense of responsibility, that they have performances, or they do not burn out, or they know how to plan their daily schedule well. I don't see any harm, to be perfectly honest.
All right. So, speaking from a HR perspective, so I've done coming into esports. I was a HR professional for more than 10 years, and honestly, these kind of topics are things that at least I always discuss. Or the people that I work with always discuss, and it is very important to have self-initiative as an individual. And I always tell employees or staff or whoever that I encounter with is that you are in charge of your own career.
Correct.
Correct.
That
I
comes
agree.
first.
Yep, I
How-
100% agree.
However, because you are working with an organization, the organization also has a responsibility to help you, to support you in your career. Now, that is conversations that we will have in the environment, things that I would have in my previous roles. In the esports industry, is it the same? Is it different? How can organizations support the athlete's career growth? Keith, your thoughts?
Be freaking honest about the industry, man. Be really honest. Tell them the reality straight up. Hey, you can't play forever. Really,
Mhm.
you can't. Like,
Yep.
who's fabricating these lies that they can be within this game forever? And nothing is set in stone, right? Like, they have to come in, and us being adults have to tell them, number one, you can't play forever. Number two, there's a likelihood that this game may phase out. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying it might phase out, right? So you have to factor in possibility for that, right? People who did streaming as well back then as a full-time, now seen demonetization from Facebook. The whole monetization structure went from 10 to 1, right? So a lot of things changes within a single time. The question is, are you equipped for that change? In the end of the day, man, I'm a Darwinism kind of guy, that the strongest species is not the most threatening one, but the ones who can adapt. And to be able to be adaptable, you have to be open to learning. And that's a lot of pro action that's coming in. So how do the organization help them in developing their career planning? Maybe with them helping their org back first, right? How I say is this. Again, this is strictly within the parameters of esports players only, the esports athletes, the ones who play competitively, because of the few reasons, that is, skills they learn during the game, inside the game, whatever is around the game is not transferable. Some aspects, yes, maybe from a league operation perspective, right? But majority of it is a bit hard to translate out, right? So you're going in, you're investing X amount of time or years. That is years being set back from you, from your peers who's taking stem cell research or something, right? So you know that you're in this position where you now don't need a plan, an exit plan eventually. Why don't you help the org now, right? You know that most orgs are running with a negative P&L. Understand that, hey, I understand why the financial situation it is, because the industry is not a model that's profitable yet for professional teams, right? You get into an arrangement that's fair to you, but not too much to ask, and then now you're on their good books. You can now leverage the connections they have, so they will recommend you within their inter departments, or even recommend you to someone else should you need a job in the future. Because now they go like, this guy is a good guy. He's got work ethic. He doesn't demand too much. He's got good attitude, everything on an interpersonal level that sets you up for success. And now you're in everyone's good books, right? So then you just open doors for yourself. As compared to like, F that, I don't want this unless it's 5-figure, baby. And then you just leave, and then everyone goes like, this guy, if I recommend you this person A, and then you go like, this guy only takes 5-figure one, I'm not gonna pay him that much. You close doors.
Oof.
Isn't that the fact?
It's true, 100% true. Yes. Yeah. I think I have something to say about this. That I do not disagree at all with what Keith mentioned. That, but however, I feel there is also one thing that I want to stress out is that yes, in-game stuff it's quite hard to transfer unless it's League Ops. But however, I feel that in a team setting, that they can equip themselves, which is, I would say, I won't call it inside the game, but it's, those attributes such as teamwork, resolving conflicts, being on time, things like that, which can be transferred outside. That esports organizations can be used as a prototype for them to get ready for the outside world. I think I speak for both Orange and SMG that we have always have this building. We want to build them. We always have this intention to build them to get ready for the rough winds outside the corporate world. That whatever they learn, like in terms of resolving conflicts with teammates or colleagues in the future, they have a special space to work things out. That things don't go overboard. That under supervisions from managers or whatever, that they can sort things out. They can learn how to do, for example, staying in a dormitory together, having schedules to clean up and stuff like that. So all these, I feel that can be transferable in the outside world. Yeah, this is where I think that most athletes, most esports pro athletes, that they kind of lack the vision to say, hey, actually I can bring this outside in the future. Yeah.
So I would like to bounce on that. I agree 100%. However, managing the team has never been has never been a job scope under the players. So it's not something that a player would undertake, like fostering teamwork, so on and so forth, and people management. It's not something they will take upon consideration under their job scope, and they would never care to do so unless they're already thinking that maybe I want to run a team. So we're arguing, what we're saying is that if they're short-sighted, they'll never think of that aspect of managing teams anyway.
No, I'm not talking about managing team. It's that team cohesion. Let me just use those who watch, who follows football this season, English Premier League, that how Arsenal has transformed in terms of the what they call the cohesiveness of the players. That even to the sense that I mean, if those of you guys that watch the documentary show on for Arsenal, that how this manager Arteta instilled that togetherness within the team, being on time. If you are late, you get to play you get to train by yourself. So how am I translating this is that in the event that you're in a professional esports team, right? If you are late for 5 minutes, for example, okay, first time I'm gonna give you an out, but eventually if you're late the second time, you go play rank by yourself already. I'm sorry, you're not allowed to join. You're not allowed to join the training. So this instills discipline for them in any case that they go outside the corporate world. For example, they're done with esports, for example, they know that, okay, I need to be on time. I need to if I have a problem, I would sort it. I would sort it out with my teammate, because outside in the working world, you bound to have conflicts with your colleagues, whatever. So it will be a space for them to sort it out as teammates, as colleagues. You take away the esports setting in it, but as human beings, they get to resolve conflicts at a small micro scale within 5 or 6 people, rather than let's say a corporate setting of 300 people. Let's say they get to make mistakes now and fix it before they go outside. Yeah, it's not about team management. They want whether they want to be a team manager or
No,
not.
but you're talking about having attitude in the first place, right? That's just the right attitude to being a team player or whatnot. Again, wouldn't happen. A person who has the right attitude, who's a team player, will not be someone who's unreasonable to ask him out of acts and because they know on the inside out that it is the nature of it, of the game, right?
That's right. They are. I mean,
So if no, I'm saying a few of them, yes, they are. I can name a few in front of my head right now, right? But I'm not going to, right? But some of them, yes, I've seen players with that potential who I see and I say can go far. Right?
I
Because
I know who
the attitude is right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know who you're talking referring to. But
Yeah.
yes, you're right. There are some with the attitude that okay, you see this again. Back to my point that they be first before anything else, rather than they treat this as I'm a pro player. This is not not my responsibility. So what we are trying to in a esports sphere, that we are trying to instill some life lessons that they could bring it elsewhere in the future. That is up to them lah. Up to them. They are they paying attention towards it or not? Because some of them, they would obviously, some of them will play that victim. I'm in that good, and you X me from training, Cristiano Ronaldo. But you see, you know what I mean? Yeah. So if it happens on a larger scale of things, we're talking about Manchester United and Cristiano Ronaldo, right? What about in a small setting? We consider ourselves small compared to Manchester United. That if there is discipline instilled within them from young, they wouldn't be prima donnas. I mean, I'm sorry, I respect Cristiano Ronaldo for what he does, but I mean, I'm just using this as objectively as an example that we do not want to grow. I mean, the club culture or the company culture is there for you to grow. You are paid to adhere to this certain set of cultures that is instilled within this premises.
Yeah.
Same that goes for other when you go to corporate firms, right? There is a certain set of culture that you need to adhere to.
If you sign up under a team, you have to fit the team, not the other way around.
Yes, precisely.
Yep. So, but just for the general audience, honestly, to again bring it within the parameters we're talking about is how to set up their career plans for esport athletes, right? So specifically the ones who's playing. Honestly, when you're talking about that attitude, discipline, whatnot, I feel that should be a given. You should. This is something that you cannot not care about. You know what I mean? Like,
but let's be honest. Club, I think you can chime in also. Do you think it's happening in Malaysia? Honestly, let's be honest. This is a lesson, stream tanpa lesson. Let's stretch it up.
Okay, let me finish my point. I feel that is something you have to develop anywhere you go, right? That is that. So there's your career path. That's your personal development path. I consider this under personal development, right? If you lack discipline, you lack this, then you should be developing those throughout anything you do throughout your entire lives, right? So it falls on a different category, although important. And that is going to give you brownie points towards a career, sure. But yeah, I feel it's two different spectrum. But yes, I do agree that is something that's expected of you, right? Don't be prima donna. Nobody likes a prima donna.
Yeah, so I think it's it's two. I agree. Yes, it's two different spectrum, but then it's more or less that towards by cultivating all these discipline habits, right?
It sets you up for success. Yes.
Yeah, it sets you up for success in terms of careers. You are more well equipped to hold other career positions. With this level of discipline instilled with you from a young age, let's say from 16 to 20, and then that's where I'm coming from. Yeah.
You made it sound like almost joining an esports org is joining a summer camp by your thought disciplines and wake up early and stuff like that.
I mean,
100%.
You're a professional. You are paid to do the job. You are expected to be here at what time?
No. Let me add on. You're a bunch of kids bundled up together under a house with your own beds, it is summer camp. Wake up. If you don't use this time to develop yourself, then I don't know. Yeah, like he said, honestly, I think a lot of orgs are just are being very lenient with players right now.
I agree.
Yeah, and me myself included. But that's because, like I said, I mean, if you don't pay a huge wage, you don't expect the X amount back in return, right? But if they were to bring this up to, let's say, a C-level position, if they want to be a prima donna on the CEO level, and a COO level, and a CFO level, that you might as well. They're gonna have a board meeting. They're gonna say this one is a little bit too tough. You're not here to cooperate and try to find solution. It's just here to complain. Let's kick him out. That's the reality of it, right?
These points got a couple of nods from the chat. So we got Mamba giving a nod. We got Wong Kelvin as well, a nod as well to this point. Okay. So I like to still within the same spectrum of organizations supporting athletes, right? So you guys work with major orgs. You guys have structure of your own and so on and so forth. So allow me to share. In a corporate org and a proper setting who has all these resources and so forth, there will be firstly, managers will be trained to their people. That's one. And it's not about the technical training. It's not necessarily technical training. It's also about life training as well. They would have conversations say that, hey, you're now doing this job as a cashier. Like, do you really want to do this for this year, or do I do something else? So managers are already trained to do that. That's number one. Number two, they are supported by a HR vertical called learning and development that comes in and also provides learning, whether it's within your scope or outside of your scope that you want to be there. Let's say if you're a receptionist and one day you say, oh, I want to be the receptionist manager, for example, I want to be the floor manager. The learning and development can help to provide you courses in management, for example. So you would take time off out of work to go for these courses to actually learn in a setting on how to be a manager and set yourself up for that path. So all structured in a way whereby there is a line drawn career that, okay, you start off here. If you want to do A, you would go to a manager, for example. If you want to go B, you'll probably be a C executive. Maybe you're not interested in people management, and that's totally fine. Something like that. So do you guys think this kind of structure is applicable, and should be within esports organizations? Why don't I go first?
I say it is, right? Okay, let's be real. If it's in an idealistic world where everyone behaves and they're a bit more realistic with their ask, right? Given it's a young industry or whatnot, it's, still very volatile as you speak. Like you said, it's still growing. Your career path, the easiest would be, number one, you start in as a player, right? First year, 2 years into the game, maybe it's about time you learn something else, learning from how to manage your peers or your teammates instead. It falls under people management. Eventually, you become a somewhat of a coach/manager in that role, right? So you easily progress from thinking about how you perform in game into thinking about how you perform in a group. So it's focusing all about dynamics, morals, so on and so forth. Then from there, you learn the administrative or managerial side of things, then understanding the P&L and whatnot, yada, yada, yada. Then by probably year 5, you could see yourself running the team instead of just from playing underneath to then running the team, right? But all this can only be done if you first, like I said, like Kelvin said, be before you get paid. Because again, it's when it comes to, so this is the thing that I think a lot of people not doing, and that is you have to maximize your opportunities when you're young. Therefore, you maximize your profits when you're older. You don't look for it now, because whatever you get now, if you think that's max, it's really nothing. What people can make on this level, right? Because Number one, experience. Number two, the importance of the job scope. And number three, the importance of the industry in the entire world. Esports is such a baby industry compared to, like, let's say, engineering or whatnot. So you can't compare your salary to, let's say, an engineer's. Right? It's a bit unrealistic per se. So if you're humble enough to learn, trust that you will be given the chance. And when you're given the chance, trust that you will deliver to a level where they now trust you back to run things for them.
Okay, so here's going to be the devil's advocate part, right? So if I'm an organization, and you mentioned as well during the earlier parts of the podcast that most organizations are red in P&L. If they're already red in PML, even struggling to break even, how are they going to invest on things that just to look good? Maybe Kelvin, if you have a thought.
Wait, what's the question?
All right. So, like what you mentioned earlier in the podcast, you said that most teams or most organizations, the P&L is red, right? So, if their P&L is red in the first place, how are they going to invest in things that are considered as support, or in other words, not priority to the org's main goal? Or maybe Keith, you want to give a go if you have a thought.
Okay, I have an answer.
Okay.
Not
please.
everything that an org can support requires money. We're doing this talk right now. We're laying down somewhat of a rough idea of what they should look forward to, how they should structure their life. That just takes time, sitting down with me, you across the table, and we can rough that one out, right? You were formerly in HR. Did it cost money to bring employees into your department to try and figure out what they're trying to do and how we can help them get there instead? It costs zero for that. A coach can also play as that. A manager can play as that. It really doesn't take an access. You don't really have to, okay, we're going to hire this additional person to hear you out and try and plan your own. Sure, that's a luxury if you could, but it's not necessary. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, not everything costs money. I mean, unless you're stingy about it, then maybe you pay them for consultation. Otherwise, it can be done.
So that's kind of so assume that based on your answer, it is the responsibility. If I were to drill down, it's the responsibility of the team managers. Would you say so, or the coaches at that level?
It is the responsibility of an individual to want to learn and be better from where he is currently, and also the responsibility from the org to help him be better for themselves.
Right.
If that makes sense. The help, the willingness to change should come from within first. When you're self-driven, only then someone else can come in and help you for it. I can flip this around. Hey, we've got $1 billion to spend. Otherwise, we have to pay taxes on that. We're going to burn it all off. I'm going to hire 50 different mental coaches and health gurus and I don't know, some scam gurus online just to give you some career advice, whatever. I'm just here to burn the money, right? And these extra unnecessary hires are coming in to somewhat help this person, but this person goes in and say, nah, I'm a prima donna. Nah. Then what? It's still going to yield to zero, right? So the question isn't resources at all.
Okay. So if the question isn't resources, so I'll come back this to Kelvin, right? So do you think for future, right, it's a mandatory skill set for coaches or managers or whoever who's in charge to have the skill set of helping players to plan their next career? Or as long as there's results that the manager or the coach can bring, that's okay?
Honestly, I have a very, very different answer to this. That when it comes to career progression, I mean, this whole big topic. The main topic today, right? It just so happened that before when I was driving back, I was listening to Gary V's podcast. That when we talk about career planning, what the age group that we are all handling right now, we are talking about from 16 to 24, I guess, or maybe below 30, right? I think this is a time in which that nothing should be set in stone. I quote Gary V, just fucking figure it out for now. You are still young. You keep telling yourself that you have no time, but at this age, it's for you to figure it out that nothing is set in stone. That yes, there are various ways to bang walls, like how I did last time. Various ways to bang walls, but right now there are structured walls with the likes of you, yourself, Cloud, or even me, or people like Flava or Kelvin. These people that they are structured walls to. The walls are structured right now for you to bang and for you to say, maybe that's not my cup of tea, rather than to have this set progression that you become player, then you need to be analyst, and you become coach. But because actually I wanted to answer your question just now about the hotel hierarchy, that I feel that it's not up to us to determine what's next for them. It's for them, going back to what I mentioned, it's for them to determine their life. How different are we with their parents, when their parents have this level of expectation, or you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, blah blah blah. How different are we if we were to set all these so-called progression plans? It's up to them to figure out that whatever they want, we will provide the support. And then again, before I pass on to Keith, we, on the organization standpoint, we are not a freaking nursery. We are not a freaking nursery that we this is a place for them to. However, find the balance for it is that, yeah, as long as you keep this level of deliverables as a pro player, then you still, as you figure it out, and you be whatever you need to be in terms of discipline, blah 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 blah, and then let's have a chat. That's how I perceive things. That's my very unorthodox answer to your question.
No, I agree. I totally agree. What I'm saying is that it's called a natural progression, right? Like if you still want to maintain in the competitive scene, then your natural progression would be that you go into the coach and then the manager. Sure, doesn't mean you can break out of it. In fact, I applaud people to break out of it.
Mhm.
But it goes back to what I said earlier. In order to break out of things and try something new, you cannot expect a person to pay you to do new things that you have zero experience for.
Yep.
So it goes back to attitude, right? But in the end of the day, it's going to be attitude, because people with good attitude would say, hey, I would forego some payment. I mean, you're lucky to have remuneration for doing something that you have zero experience of anyway, right? I'm ready to forego that for the amount of learning that I can benefit from. It's still a positive in the end of the day, if you think of it that way.
Yeah, so but like for esports right now, there is no specific so-called certification. Back to your question, Cloud, that no specific specification for someone who wants to progress. For example, let me use in the traditional sports example, that in order to qualify as a coach, you need to go through a sports science course, level 1, level 2, level 3 with MSN for you to be certified as a coach. This is not applied in esports yet. But for me, once I got to know about this, I am taking the initiative to sign up with MSN, even though that the syllabus will somehow not relate to esports, but I want to know the bigger side of things. That I don't know. There will come a time in which that such certifications will be regulated. In order to be a manager, you need to get certificate, blah blah blah, to become manager, certificate, blah blah blah, to become coach. I don't know. It might happen. It might not happen. I don't know. But esports doesn't have that current what do you call structure yet.
Honestly, if we're being completely honest, I'm not a big fan of that idea, right? Because in the end of the day, esports is a product, right? Marketing in esports, get your basics marketing. You learn the fundamentals of marketing, you can market anything, be it a Coca-Cola can, be it a candy ice pops, be it esports. It's a marketing, right? In the end of the day, you still have to learn the ecosystem, or pretty much learn the community or the target audience, and then specify a strategy towards it. Same thing with an esports psychologist, which you have the luxury to work with. There's sports science and psychology already existed. The brain doesn't change the way it works just because they are not running on treadmills, but playing games on a mobile phone. I don't think the brain functions differently. So I'm not really a big fan of these esports specific course because then the premise will be this, right? This is my worry and my thought process. If I get a degree, honorary degree in esports marketing, compared to the guy who's got a degree in regular marketing, if we compete in esports, sure, maybe there's a chance that the esports guy would get an edge over me, but maybe it wouldn't make a difference. But if I were to apply outside of esports, now this guy is going to have all the difference. His options are much more open than compared to mine. So again, it goes down to maximizing your potential, right? And that means choosing making the choice that opens the most doors, in my opinion.
I think I agree with what you mentioned. Is because I was speaking on the sporting side of things. That, yeah, you're right. That in terms of when we talk about the marketing and whatnot, I mean it's far much what do you call lucrative for you to get a degree in marketing rather than esports marketing. I don't think that it just narrows your choices or whatever. What does that paper even mean? To be perfect.
True.
Yeah, I get that point. But on the sporting standpoint, in which that, for example, I'm not saying that. I think this is slightly related to the last podcast in which we mentioned about how about the performance of Malaysian teams in outside of Malaysia in the World Series and stuff like that. That how are we able to produce quality coaches or even managers or even players obviously, that why are there a sudden influx of Filipino coaches that just a fun fact, the top 4 teams in M4 are Filipino coaches. So what is that secret recipe that we are lacking? So therefore I that's where I thought that having this I don't know. For me, like when I mentioned that this whole sports science certificate, I'm taking it for my own personal interest. Like I really want to learn more. That if I could gamify or esportsify whatever that I learn, in my own opinion, I can apply. I'll just apply. But as of right now, there is nothing. So I'm finding the closest match to it, which is a sports science course, just to be able to learn more. And eventually that if it comes to if there's an opportunity for let's say the government to say that, okay, let's work it how if I'm not wrong, in Philippines they do have this esports license, right? I don't know how great is that. I mean, what are the content or what are the prerequisites of having an esports license or whatever. So that is where I want to learn more to even give feedback to the likes of MSN or whatever, to say that, hey, actually, what is relevant, what is not relevant. Maybe we can organize a think tank, in order to help. Back to the main topic, career progression. That after you expired as a player, what's next for you? That me, I don't have to, but I want to, just to find out, just to see what else can we penetrate in terms of providing other opportunities or career opportunities, directly or indirectly to the younger generation.
And I think your answer also addressed the comment where Mingzi about whether can esports take example from sports, there's sport management.
Oh, and play Football Manager. That is my tip to you guys. Seriously, it helped me shape my thoughts. Really, really, really.
It does on a
Simulation.
Yeah, no, it does on an interpersonal level. I agree. Like a lot of the personal development, I guess mental coaching and stuff does translate over. In the end of the day, your objective as a coach in football is the same with a regular team. I want to make sure my players are all in their best shape and form to deliver the best performance and yield in the best results, which then provides ROI in either advertising, marketing, and maybe on a commercial level. But I would say, Yeah, but I would say this though, commercially it's not the same, and that's why when people think that they can compare their their pay to the likes of football, it's never gonna happen, because unless esports is a team that's funded by the country itself, like football is, you're never gonna get that sort of amount of salaries, right? But then if you go to that direction, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be far more sustainable, right? Players are gonna get insane amount of pay, per monthly basis or per annual basis, whatever. But then now you only have opportunities for the 5 players plus one coach, maybe analyst, in the country, because budgets, we know, are segregated on a country level. So I mean, not really country, it's state level, right? So then you'll have KL with one team, then you have Selangor with one team. Then that means that close more doors to all the rest of the people. So you kind of have to pick and choose here. If you want like the I guess the best you could offer to players, then that means you have to say, okay, that means we have to make the product scarce, which means only a few can get it, therefore justifying freeing up more budget. At the same time, it's they deserve it because they're the creme of the top, right? That makes sense. That's the sports model at the very least. But if it's privately run, like if a team is privately run, then you have to kind of take look after the organization's best interest as well, to in order to keep providing that platform for you to play in and benefit from it. Like I said, it has to be a win-win. It's called a value exchange, and we've seen it time and time again in nature. Let's go back to biology, right? In evolution, whenever if it's, there are 3 sort of relationships that's prominent, right? There's mutualism, where both party wins. There's commensalism, where one party doesn't benefit, the other one does. And there's parasitism, where one party is deeply damaged while one more benefits, right? So looking at the current ordeal, I'd say esports is running on a very parasitic model, and just like a parasite on a host, the host will die eventually. And if too many parasites are out there, then you'll wipe off the entire species. In this case, probably an industry, or probably a vertical in the industry.
Mhm.
Wow.
I can't deny that. I can't deny that, man.
Very, very interesting. That's an interesting angle there. But okay, so I'd like to take us away from organizations now. Let's go a little bit bigger. And Kelvin, you did give us teaser speaking about how government can support esports athletes' careers. Would you mind to expand a little bit more on that? What your thoughts are on government can do so?
I feel that I need to be blunt on this. That with in which that since when was it? 2018 was it? Where government budgets were announced, X and X and millions every year. That is supposedly to be invested into esports development and whatnot. As of now, I do acknowledge that there has been grassroots developments from the likes of, for example, ESI, that they do this Malaysia Esports League, that which they involve states and stuff like that. That they are looking towards the player vertical right now, the pro player vertical, and I suggest that it would be great if there's more there are budgets that are to be the support given by government to enhance career development. Like Cloud, I think you and I we did a series of like esports courses and stuff like that, just to give them an idea on what they really want. Because like I remember there was shoutcasting classes, there was team management classes, there was even general esports 101. I think a lot can be done in terms of providing them that education and giving them prepping them with that mindset first. And to ask that question again, I'm repeating, Is
What
this
do you
what you
want?
really want? And what do you want? And is this really what you want? I think that is where yes, it's not. I know it's not cheap. It's not cheap, but if you consider the amount, honestly, let me ask you, if a 10 million budget was announced, how much in your perspective, how what in on your HR perspective, how much do you think is a right figure for for development, career development? Let me post this question back to you. And after your answer will be how much can we do since we are on this side of the spectrum, how much can we do with that amount of money?
Whoa. I don't have a definite answer for that because it's subjective based on the industry. Right?
Mhm.
Talk about the corporate world, you're segmented into multiple industries. Then it will come to what is, if you talk about from government level, right? They would have like, okay, our year-long plan or long-term plan, whatever it is, do to go digital or do we want to focus on agriculture, for example? They say go digital, for example, that's where they will invest more on, okay, go digital, let's have more digital courses, how to be a programmer, how to be a hacker, for example, so these kind of things. So I don't have a definite answer for you for that. What my thought is that if we take into the sporting context, there are initiatives from the government to say that if you are a high performing athlete, your
High
school
performance.
days, right? You will be put into a sports school where you will
Correct.
have the balance of education, you will have the balance of playing as well, and that will somehow shape your long-term career path. But
Yep.
is that thing needed or relevant esports now? Should there be that kind of initiative in the government? Maybe Keith,
I
if you
feel
have a thought, or Kelvin, yeah.
I would say yes and no. In because yes because like like Bukit Jalil, for I am a failed product that I didn't manage to get when doing my swimming days. I didn't manage to excel well to go into a sports school, which I wouldn't have any experience. But I mean, outside looking in, I feel that that is where uh being in the school that you have this kind of balance, that it helps you shape at the age of, for example, it's probably secondary school, right? At the age of 13 up to 17, you get to shape who you are first. Let's not talk about careers first. That tender age of 13 to 17, just to uh learn, like what Kim mentioned. By the time you reach pro scene, it's a given already. It's a given that you have to instill all these characteristics and already. So in relations to this sports school that we bring back from, instead of teaching them at the age of 18 to 24, we reverse it to 13 to 17 for them to instill all this. By the time they come out, they can still go for their under 17s, for example, if there's an esports version of under 15s, under 17s, like what the schools are doing. Eventually when they come up pro, they are already set ready. So this is where I say yes to it. No, my reason is behind, there is no proof of concept. We can't. I might be shooting myself in the head right now, by saying that traditional sports and esports, it might be different in a way that what are you gonna do? Like you go to school, then till 2 p.m. you get a 1 hour rest. 3 to 7 p.m. you go under supervised training. Probably yes, probably no. There is already a facility within MSN to conduct such classes or training programs. I don't know, but I'm taking a more pragmatic approach. The same might be a little bit different compared to traditional sports. How do we monitor? I think that's where I'm coming from.
But
Yeah, that,
without a concept laid out, there will never be a proof of concept.
Never try, never know. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
so I'm a
Keith,
big fan. I actually like the idea of that because then you really root things out, right? And then you see who's really deserving based on like imagine that, right? Imagine that sort of concept in esports where only the top few athletes will be, I guess, funded by the government per se, right? Much like only the top creme de la creme in football gets funding from the government, itself, because then it justifies that sort of financial support, right? And so the rest of them who don't make it, now they have to look themselves in a mirror and say, hey, maybe we can't demand this much because we're not even there, right? Because the thing right now is they're going to go like, oh, my friend's getting paid this much despite not having the same sort of achievement, so I must demand this much. And then you just close your own opportunity to prove yourself. I keep saying this time and time again, the reason why people go into Orange, although short term, they always perform because their ROI is, I'm going to go in, prove myself, move to something else, get a better salary. that's my theory behind it. They're always more driven because they're trying to get out.
I think I feel I can add into this, that I'm rewinding back to the time that I missed out on getting selected to a sports school. That how gutted I feel that, how I felt that I wasn't creme of the creme. That my fellow peers were in KL, leading being in sports school, giving considered high performance. That would also drive me as the tier 2 or tier 3 to fight for more. So we're looking back that eventually it will cross paths towards the so-called pro scene of 18 and above, right? So that will also make me feel that between the 13 and 17 age, that it makes me hungry that what the hell, I should have made it there. I want to prove them wrong, that they made MSN make the wrong choice, that I didn't select me. I'm going to hustle my way through and make sure that I get noticed. So yeah, I think this is okay. I'm leaning towards, just now I had 2 answers. I'm leaning towards a yes right now. that probably this could be the right thing. We rewind things a little bit back rather than us being. I mean, again, I might be sabotaging myself by saying this. Don't let the ox become the nursery. Let the sports school become the nursery first. Yeah. No. I mean, yes. I do. It put things to perspective, lah. That it makes sense, honestly. Now that we're talking about it. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
It's suddenly I have this spark. Like it's like if you talk like a regular job for an engineer, for example, a regular job, right? It's like the universities are the, how should I put it, that filter,
Molding you up.
Yeah, that mold.
Yeah. That mold. That if you miss classes every day, but you get good grades, how?
No, so that's the thing with universities. If you miss classes every day, there's a minimal attendance you should
80%, right? Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't take the test. Then, despite your A, good luck, you're sitting back for another semester, right? So you're benched, despite being a good player. You're benched. That won't happen here. We don't have that sort of quality control here. And yeah, I mean,
guys, I think we have a discovery today.
We have like a ding. Oh.
Yes, ding. Sheesh.
Right, just as Mamba, shout out to Mamba as well, giving me a ding in the comments. Thank you, Mamba. Mamba has been sitting through the chat. Yeah, all right, so yeah. So anyway, I think we covered a lot of grounds. Perhaps we can talk a little bit about the Q&A. So earlier there was a question from Mingzi. So that is not really relevant, but he was asking about like recruitment process of esports athletes. Now, I actually have this planned out as my next podcast, and I already have a guest in, so teaser a little bit there for you guys. But what are the thoughts about you guys? Like, maybe in a general thought, the best practice of a recruitment process of a player.
Okay, I think let me chime in on this. That I let me speak on what is done in SMG right now. That onboarding process right now, that it's like, I think Cloud, you can see where I'm coming from. There will be a personality test before you even come into the company. That when you undergo interview, there's a personality test to find out red flags or not. just to understand you more before you go into the second layer or third layer of onboarding. So this is what we are doing over here.
Okay, I
That is
guess.
one of the few early steps
Mm.
that just to understand this applicant. I'm this applicant more. Yeah.
Okay,
If there's
Keith, any thoughts?
So for me, well, I guess this is I mean that's the culture there, because I mean SMG pays them really well, right? So they want certain quality control. Like from my end, I think for me it's about I'm willing to give the opportunity as long as people are hungry enough to fight for it. That means not going for the attractive number that's right on that piece of paper, but think of it like as something that you really want to do and accomplish. Because if you really want to just perform and be the best, then all that shouldn't matter, now would it? All that is great, but if otherwise, as long as it's decent enough to keep you sustained, keep you fed, you're gonna go through blood, sweat, and tears to make sure you achieve what you want to achieve, and that number shouldn't be an impediment for you to do so. That's why I always cringe when players would say, "How if you want me to be champion, but you don't pay me X amount? How do I be champion?" I'm like saying, so you're telling me you're deliberately sabotaging yourself and on the chance to be something great because I cannot give you that. What if the next person could give you that, but they can't see it because you're sabotaging yourself, right? It goes back to the whole you have
Yes.
to be first.
That's why they have to be. I need to have this first. So yeah, it's how I put it in a nutshell. Correct.
You have to be first. That's like the theme of the.
You can't have everything and then only then you do then you be. But it doesn't work that way, kids. It doesn't
No,
work that way.
no. We are already we're already taking the risk, right? When you onboard players, because how are you going to make that money back? You don't know. You're just burning it through, but we believe in you. That's why we put money down on you. And now you want more, but you can't guarantee that X amount of achievements. Then we are in a disconnect there, right? So you have to be first, then you will be remunerated handsomely by maybe not by the same org you're under, but maybe by the next org. That's what I meant by like long term, right?
Yeah, I mean, congratulations if any of these players they currently command the 5 figures that they demand for. Congratulations to you. Good for you. Go get where the money is right now. And we are not faulting you for this. Don't get us wrong. If
We're just saying that we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't pay you that amount.
yeah, I think that's what we would agree upon. I mean, yes, I do acknowledge that how me coming from both sides, that how Orange ran our the organization, and me coming into SMG, and how I observe other organizations. With all due respect, other organizations have their own so-called what do you call paying tiers. All due respect, whatever works for you, man. If you're lucky, if any player's lucky enough to catch it, great, fantastic, good for you.
Yeah.
It's just that we might not. We do.
We wouldn't spend it that way.
Like, for example, yes, I think Keith, you're right that you mentioned that because I would say that for example, we do focus a little bit more. This way, we have this process, to make sure that what we sign up for, we do our own diligence. What we sign up for is okay. We can go for this. I agree on that point.
I'm going to put this onto the HR context, right? For in a corporate environment, and if you choose to go to a regular job, and I'm speaking to the genders who might be watching this podcast, is that if you're a fresh graduate and you're coming for an interview, it's going to be the same thing, right? Like you need to have the grade they want. You need to have like the skills that you would have during your university or college life, and then you get hired for the job. So
No, and then
yeah,
you don't get hired. You go in for a 3 months, maybe 6 months probation, and then
Yep.
that's where they see your ethics, your work ethics, your attitude, your dynamics with the team. Can you cooperate? Are you a team player, or are you just toxic? Right. And so all these things are put into consideration.
Yep. Exactly. Breaking that down as well. And then from then onwards, maybe you be in the role for for a year or two, whatever X amount of years is, and then you might say that, hey, you know what, I'm doing really well. I think I deserve more money. Or maybe within a year, like I'm really well, and your boss sees you. Hey, yeah, hey, dude, you're doing really well. And because of that, you brought my company X amount of ROI. Here's a bigger paycheck on your next increment.
Yeah, and you know what's the great part about that? About being first? Sometimes you don't even have to ask and they'll give it to you.
Yeah, correct.
Agree. Whatever hard work is, it wouldn't be left unnoticed. I feel the world is fair, right? That people from the management, they can see that in terms of value, because you yes, there is a certain level in which that you acknowledge your own value, you know your own value, but there is another thing for someone else to say that, hey bro, you're doing well, I think you deserve this. So yes, agree 100% agree that, people, I mean, I'm speaking on, like, for example, the management level people, they are not blind. They see they do see what you're doing. They know what's happening. But I think there's also a way, it's also a phase in which that management would also, if there were to be feedback, the management will have to say that, to be upfront, saying that, you may think that you have done this and this. However, this is a feedback for you. Don't take it personally. I think this is where we use it on the esports context, that most players can't handle feedback. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
For me, feedback is just feedback. It's like, okay, let me use it a very easy terminology. You go to a restaurant, you submit a feedback form. The feedback form is a feedback form. It's just it is what it is. It is what it is. Good, bad, whatever. It's just feedback. It doesn't mean that your shop has to close tomorrow. So I think this is where this is a good opportunity for us to say for players to, especially players, to learn to accept feedback. That it depends on perspective as well. How you take it, right? That for me, I always tell players that feedback is just feedback. It's nothing but feedback. It's like data, Data is just data unless you churn it to become information to you. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
So for me, I would feedback carries a bit more weight, but I think in a good way, because in your analogy, you get a feedback today, doesn't mean you close tomorrow.
Mhm.
But if everyone keeps giving you the feedback saying that your food's too salty, and if you don't fix on that,
Correct.
then you will for sure close tomorrow,
Yeah,
right?
This is let me just share a little bit on this. When I just spoke to my manager Benny today. When feedback becomes constant, it doesn't come from one party. A few several sources. When the feedback is so constant, that's where we need to pay attention. What are we doing wrong? What have we done wrong? It's because everybody has their own experience towards this restaurant, right? But when the moment feedback doesn't lie, the moment there is consistent feedback, you need to look into it. Why is people saying, is my chicken that bad? Yeah, correct or not? This is where when when good, obviously it's also the other spectrum that, oh, there must be something that I've been doing right. Same
if
thing.
if it's like an outlier, one guy just comes in and
Yeah.
say your chicken sucks, then maybe you could say, hey, maybe that one day I didn't cook the thing the same way as the recipe did. I put a little bit too much salt, or maybe he just have a different palate and he doesn't expect me to do.
Yeah.
That's the outlier. Who cares, right? You still have 90% of the entire feedback on your side. But
Yes.
yeah, if it's all consistent, then maybe you should consider thinking that, hey, maybe I'm the problem, right? And I think that's a lot of that, like Kelvin said, I think players in the scene are a bit too young, too immature to actually take that and churn it into a positive thing. Because, which I don't blame them, because you're looking at a competitive scene, right? It takes a whole lot of ego to keep playing the game. Because if you don't think that you can beat the next person in the next series in the next match, then you're already defeated. So I get why there is an ego in play here, but at the same time, it's about what are they doing to themselves to get themselves into the stage where they're self-actualized enough to understand where they're at in terms of competitive level, how can they be better, and what is the feedbacks that they have to work on, right? Yeah. So that one comes with age, I feel. So unfortunately, it's just a very young industry, man. I cannot put up with it. This is why I respect Kelvin to the brim, because he's got so much compassion. I cannot. I would 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10 probably slap someone for the attitudes that they have. Yeah.
Well, I just feel that you're right, because at this age I cannot expect them to have that thought as I do. So which is why when I give like for example this player X, when I give feedback, I need to tune it to what they are willing to hear. But I will they can hear, but I still make it a disclaimer that saying that I'm saying this for your own good. Don't treat it personally. This is all for your own growth, be it personal growth, be it career growth. My come from is pure and authentic. I'm not here to sabotage you or whatsoever. So I can have that conversation. I understand Keith. I've been working so long with Keith that his level of tolerance isn't that great. That there, all due respect, he is who he is. But for me, I would take
No. I must correct you there. I have a very good tolerance for things that matter, not for petty things like attitude. I don't care for that shit.
Okay, because Keith is brought up. I mean, he has his life values in which that he has no what do you call that? You have no room for that kind of BS, right?
Yeah.
Because you practice it in your life already.
Because life is hard. Yeah.
Let me say something that this is got to do with career progression. The first few months, I remember when Keith came to KL as as a content executive. It was a startup what do you call basic wage, okay? That in my perspective, that seeing that him, he walks to work and stuff like that with whatever that he needs to pay his rent, needs to pay his bills, that he works within whatever that is given to him, whatever cuts that was dealt with him, that seeing him being that disciplined. And back then you were only 23, 24, was it? Remember, was it
20? Yeah. I mean, now I'm 26 now. I've been here for like
3 years?
about 4 years. So
Yeah, for me being the elder guy, a 22-year-old, I was impressed by him. I was like, hell, when I was 22, I didn't have that level of discipline, man. And then sometimes that I'll go, hey, Keith, you want to go for like a slightly big meal? Nah, it's okay. I don't have much. I don't have much. There's nothing wrong in that. So you see that discipline instilled in a 22-year-old back then, it wows me. I say, wow, this guy is really different breed, So this is.
I used to bring in like containers, right? Like that with chicken on the inside and some rice there, boiled chicken stuff.
It comes to a point. It's not. I'm not coming from a sympathy angle. But hey, come lah. We go makan together. My treat. What? It's not about that, but more towards that. Take some burden off him as a friend. That in a way, I'm not saying that I'm fully responsible for him being in there. It's his own it's his own what you call effort to make it there. That that the papa side of me is saying that I'm kind of responsible for him. I want to be there to him to ease his burden. That's that kind of stuff. That I just want to be there for him. That's all. That is my come from. That whatever he does right now. It's great that I see the transformation of this fella. So my question is, why does the early 20s, they cannot be him? I mean, oh yes, they are not him, but all this can be. I think if you guys remember, I did one post about you need to be pushed towards a wall, only then you start reacting. Why don't you fight like it's your last day of your life? For example, Japan, China, when the population is that huge, you only 0.1% makes it to the top. Why don't you have embed that mindset within you? I really envy him for having this skill set that back when I was 22, I didn't have. I still bang wall, bang here, bang there, bang wall here, bang there. I didn't have that kind of resilience. So this is where my life, what I observe in real life, that I can share with those that if you really have the mind set in that, you can. It's all within your control. Don't blame it on the other people.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Taking a pause to
Fond
say that
memories,
thank you. Wow.
Oh, hello.
It become like this heart pouring session between the guys.
Real
But
life
that's cool.
situations. I think what I
it's
can share with, with many years, I share real life stories that I can plug and place it in terms of career progression. This guy you invited today is the actual creme de la creme of how career progression will be in the form of esports. He may not have chosen the pro scene route, but yeah, he's a BD manager right now.
no, he's trying to be nice. Thank you, Kel. Later I
No,
pay
no,
you. Nanti I bayar. Eh?
This is what I really want to say. That I geram, I geram that the mindset of this that, oh, you come, you pay me this much, then blah 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 blah. That is not right. I think I'm a broken recorder about mindset. This is it. That yes, we can do fancy stuff on career progression. We draw a table for you. You climb. It doesn't matter if you don't have that mindset. We do so much, also no use. That's all.
Wow. Hey, that went all the way. But I like it. I
Yeah.
like it. Anyway, I think I'm to say thank you to Adrian Gaffo is still around though. So thank you for the 30 as well. That keeps the show going. Just saying.
Oh no! So every 30 stars he donate, we're going on.
Yes,
for
every
next hour.
every donation keeps the show going. But I'm not saying only this episode, but podcast episodes, right? So, but yeah, I mean that we could expand to a lot of topics, right? We can talk about like feedback and all. In fact, it was a topic that I was just talking to a friend yesterday about: is it giving and receiving feedback a problem in our culture? My short answer would be yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh wow, Kelvin, he wants to let it go.
Yes.
Let's go, Keller. Let
Okay,
the beast out.
right. Let the beast out. Let's go. And thank you, Adrian. And then 300 stars keeps the show going. But,
I
all
have
right, you
received.
go.
I have nurtured myself to receive feedback at the lowest. That it can break me, but then I choose to look at it as feedback, being neutral. For me, feedback is neutral. It's the matter of how I perceive that statement. Okay. So, for example, you are shit. Oh no. Let me use a real life example. Okay. I'm sorry that I have to bring this up. When I was a young boy, I was young and confused. Not that kind of confused.
Confused?
My dad told me the feedback that my dad told me is, you are stupid. So for that X amount of years, is why he keeps saying I'm stupid? I'm trying my best. What? But then as I grew older, the shift of that statement, that feedback, you are stupid, is I turn it around to become, the moment he mentioned the word stupid, meaning to say, son, you still have a lot to learn. When I take it back, it doesn't sound that bad after all. So I reterm whatever that is said, like stupid equals, son, you have so much more to learn. So this is where I feel that in our Asian society, that feedback meaning to say that, oh, meaning you look down on me, you know what I mean? We get that a lot, right? So you see, you look down on me, you tak pandang you pandang rendah towards I, whatever, that kind of thing. So this is where I feel that it's just feedback, bro. It's just feedback that you define who you are. You don't let any other people define who you are. Feedback is just feedback. Full stop. Period. Sorry, I'm breaking around when it comes to this. It was a life lesson for me.
You should have a new podcast session where you just feature Kelvin and let him just like go all off. We call that, instead of podcast have a lesson, we call it Kelvin Pang Unleashed. The Unleash. Unleash podcast.
Kelvin tak berlin. It's like, okay, I'll just be like this. It's like, yeah, go ahead, yeah.
Go. Then you just throw topics at him, right? Go, father. What you got to say? And he keeps going through, keep throwing topics at him, and just let him go all off.
I think this is where the this side of me that whatever when receiving feedback, this is what I learned. That's where I learned how to, when it's my turn to give feedback, I would structure it. I will structure it the way I will still maintain the content, the actual content of what I want to say, the intention of what I want to say, but I add some finesse into it. That's it. I may sound a bit too overly diplomatic, but I have a reason behind because of this. I would call it. I won't call it past trauma lah, but this learning that I have when I was much younger. That if I were to put myself in a 17-year-old Kelvin, what can I listen in order for me to, maybe he has a point. It doesn't have to change tomorrow, but he can think about it. That's my entire intention.
I hope Adrian isn't part of your trauma.
Oh, no. Yeah.
No, he lives in a good part of his memory, you know.
Okay. Just for fun, since Adrian's around, where's the money? Feedback. Where is the money? Yeah. How come no money? Yeah.
What's the context?
This is how another example of how we reconstruct feedback, right? To what we perceive it as. Fact. Money drying out. Why? How come no money? Where's the money? So it's bad because I'm not doing my job right. I should be finding money, right? But I didn't do my job. Okay. What he's trying to say is, good. We are running low. I need you to put in more effort to look for money in order for us to survive. Wouldn't that sound better? Rather than, wait, how come not? Wait, no money. So yeah, it's perspective, guys. It's perspective only. I'm just using Adrian Gafford as an example that how we receive feedback.
I think Adrian right now is going like, how do we pull back stars after we've given it?
No, I love you, Adrian. I love you.
You sign me into this chat.
But yeah,
we'll get Adrian in one of these episodes, right? We'll get Adrian one of these episodes, and he can have his payback time.
Hear his story. His story is even more remarkable, right? Like, but again, like you see the similar trend lines, right? Like he had to go through so much just to get what he has today, and that's why like I don't think anyone could hate him for it, right? And same goes with like freaking players, right? Players are not in any position to demand anything until they've proven themselves. So I think that's pretty much the general consensus for today. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I wish I could grant his wish of having this podcast for the next 5 hours, but I think our gentlemen also other means to attend to as well. So I'm going to give the closing question to you guys now. So let's see. Maybe we'll come back to Kelvin. So what are your hopes for the future of sports athletes' careers development?
Okay, since I just want to continue this whole sudden shift of mood, right? First and foremost, we organizations and those players are players. They are young. We as organizations, for example, we should be setting an example. Don't freaking make it a cowboy town lah, bro.
Honor your contracts. Honor your freaking contracts.
You know what I mean? In the sense that we should be again. I'm not saying that we should be nurseries. That we help them. We help feed them with whatever. But I'm saying that there should be a very very middle ground in which that yes, we are here. We are treating them. We organizations on the organization standpoint that we hope that they do well. We are a platform that we employ them to to do what they do best whatsoever, and then at the same time that when they want to evolve in their careers or not, we are there. Or if we are not there on the organization standpoint, they have buddies, they have friends, they have people. I think Cloud, you have been amazing in terms of reaching out to people to come to you and say, hey, Cloud, I'm stuck with this. What do you think? So I think that my hopes is that I think Cloud, you and I, we are very, and together with our buddy Flava, that we would commit to become that um guiding, that pillar of support lah. Like I said, right now they have. If you tell me right now, they don't know what they want to do, but we collectively, I think Keith can also. Keith has been with the boys right now. Just to have that chat with them, that there's in terms of career development. Tell me what you want lah. Tell me what you want. It doesn't have to be. Let me use this example. I don't know if you guys Keith, I'm not sure. But Cloud, do you remember in primary school that every year your class teacher would say, okay, what is your ambition? You get to fill in 3. You not jadi police, you not jadi whatever. Every year, do you realize that it's different? So
Yes.
So this is where we come in to say that is why I still emphasize that we cannot write the career path of theirs. They decide what they want to do. I remember my primary one ambition was to be a police. Where has that got me? So it changes gradually because it's what inspires you at that moment. That's part of the moment, ma.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not so. Broadcasting may be something you would like to learn to know about. But who knows for the next year? Oh, I think League Ops is better, for example. Or maybe esports is not good enough for me. I'd rather go into banking or whatever. I don't know. So just us being there to be that pillar of support only. We cannot dictate what they want to do, but they can dictate what they themselves can dictate what they want to do. That's my only hope, honestly.
I agree, and just to echo on that, because of the nature of esports being very young, your audience being super young. So again, yes, they're gonna want to try new things. They don't know what they want to do, but they have to start developing and shaping up that attitude, right? Because you may want different things, but if your attitude is not first in place, then you'll never be able to, number one, excel in whatever you're putting your hands onto. Number two, open doors for yourself, right? If you're a difficult person, people think twice before actually having you onto their arms or fighting in your corner, because then they have 2 battles to fight: the world and them on the inside. So if you really don't know what to do, focus on being the best version of yourself, right? Then once you get that in place, naturally you'll think about how you can better yourself for the market space.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's Keith. That will be your hope for the future, I would assume.
No, I think that's general. I think kids needs to grow up. That's just that.
Right. So as a closing remark, maybe tell me your hope for the future when it comes to this topic.
Who first?
You. I think
Okay.
Kelvin said his piece.
Okay. For a closing remark, I do hope that as comfortable as it is now for many new generations, know that life will always be tough. Although your parents strive their absolute best to make things easy for you, so you don't see it. Life is tough, right?
Mhm.
So when you're going out there, know that they can't always help fight your own battles, and sometimes you have to give a little bit to ultimately win, right? So be cooperative. Don't be a prima donna.
I thought that you were gonna say that word.
I thought you were about to say something else, man. Okay, prima donna work.
Yeah.
Right, with PG-13.
Well, I mind my language, okay? Although you don't have a license, I still don't want to get sued. Actually, because you don't have a license, I might get sued. So
Yeah. I think one more thing that I think it's very cliche to say, but despite whatever plans that we have, with our discussion, I think it boils down to one thing, one phrase. It's a very cliche phrase. If it's to be, it's up to me.
accountability. Yeah.
If it's to be, it's up to me. We can be these so-called guardian angels or supporting support pillar. If they don't take the first step, who are we? We are nothing. We can't help them. It all starts from them. God honest truth. Whatever we plan is useless if there is no proactiveness or initiative taken. That's all.
Right. So the theme for today, proactive and you hold accountable for your own future, in other words. But there's no room for organizations to sort of support the players as well towards their goals. And ultimately, I believe that if you have to keep your players happy through supporting them through their for their goals and their long-term planning, and you will get a better player or employee, however you name it.
My friend, this is where things gets a little bit twisted. Oh snap! He was about to close the show up, but he opened another can of worms.
Let's go. Adrian's getting his fix. Let's go.
Happiness, my friend, is subjective. A player could say, I'm only happy if I'm paid $1 million, and he will forever be unhappy about things. Right? Meanwhile, another person will go, I'm happy to be given a chance. And he will make the most out of these chances. So
Okay, happiness is a very, very subjective. Really. I agree.
Agreed. And that is why asking the right questions on what do you want to do is important.
Yes. Because it's your happiness, it's not mine. Like, well, for me, what makes me happy? Why am I so invested in this? Is that seeing people win makes me happy. Seeing people win in life makes me happy. That there is a fulfillment over there. Yeah, that's all I need. Yes, I agree. The material side, yes, I want to make money, whatever. Yes, there is a time and place to make that money. But my lifelong purpose is to empower people, and seeing them win is making me happy. That's where I'm coming from.
So the point I'm bringing this up is not anything. The point I'm bringing this up is because to what point does the standard of your happiness becomes delusional? That was my point. Something for you to discuss in the next podcast of Podcast BERLESEN with Sir Cloud.
I like the segue. I like the segue. But anyway, so that will be all for today. The next podcast might be, and I'm saying might be because it sometimes depends on the guest. It could be on the focusing on the recruitment part of athletes, as in from both from an org and from the athlete itself. And there will be a guest that I have in mind, who has had a foolproof concept of actually growing athletes or players from nobody to somebody. Stick around to find out, ladies and gentlemen. And this podcast will also be featured on YouTube as well, as and so you can watch it there again. You can replay it as many times as you want and look at Keith's handsome face as many times as you want. Thank you so much to the live view as well. We got Adrian, Zunzi, Mamba, we got Kelvin early on. We got Mingzi,
the man with many stars, Adrian Gafor.
Adrian, I was the best for last, but you had to call it.
Oh.
So the man with many stars, Adrian Gafor. So much, ladies and gentlemen, for checking us out, and we'll see you next episode. Oh, by the way, forgot. Thank you to all as well. How can I not say thank you to the guests? Gotcha, you got me there. You got me there.
Thank you.
Thank you for the guests gentlemen, for spending your time here. I know it's a late night and you guys have things to attend to, but I totally get that. And this, of course, for the purpose of education for all. And
happy to be part of it. And take whatever we said as a grain of salt. Right, we're not gospel. I think it's all clear to distinct that. Take what you think is relevant.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't treat it as a factual. Facts into it, but it's not dead set. Yeah.
Yep. Not dead set.
Yeah, it's a discussion, and if you have your own thoughts, of course, we appreciate it as well. And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.